Hi, friends. Thanks for being here. Before I get started with today's episode, I just wanted to let you know that I am doing a ladies' self care retreat in the beautiful Eden, Utah on October 21st and 22nd. We will be doing self care for your mind and body, and the weekend will include coaching, yoga, massages, face masks, and hand lettering, just to name a few of the fun things we'll be doing. If you or someone you know could benefit from learning powerful tools for mental and emotional wellness in a relaxed setting, please head to my website, www.lifeinspiredcoach.com, and click on the link to find out more details and register. There are still some spots available, and I can't wait to have you join me for this weekend of personal growth, relaxation, and new friendships. I will include the link to my website in the show notes, so please check it out and join me in a couple of weeks. Welcome to Life Inspired Coach. My name is Bethany Lewis, and I'm excited to spend this time with you. I'm a family relationships life coach that loves to be inspired, and I'm using this platform as a way to share some of the inspiration that has come my way. I hope it's as inspiring for you as it has been for me. I also want to let you know that coaching with me is an option. Check out my website, www.lifeinspiredcoach.com, for more information about working with me, and listen at the end for more details. Welcome back, everybody. Today, my guest is someone that I have known since my childhood, and I distinctly remember her substituting for singing time in primary when I was a little girl, and she taught us the lyrics to the song called I Love to See the Temple, and she drew Swiss cheese on the blackboard because I'm pretty sure it was a blackboard. And she drew Swiss cheese to help us remember the word holy, and she drew a picture of a seal to remind us of the line when we are sealed together, or where we are sealed together. And she just was like cracking up at herself and laughing at her artwork the whole time. And I don't know why that has stayed with me so strongly, but it has. I also distinctly remember her driving me to girls' camp one year, and I was probably 12 or 13, and she was letting some of the older girls read aloud from her journal from when she was a teenager. And everybody was cracking up because apparently there were a whole lot of cute boys, and she was melting all over the place. She would say something about this boy and oh, I melted, and then something about this boy and oh, I melted. It was awesome. And she is one of the people from my home ward or congregation in Delaware, church congregation, that I've always looked up to, and whose influence and example have been a major blessing in my life. And whenever I think of Nancy Winn, I think of joy and fun. She is always smiling and laughing and joking and serving, and she's a dedicated disciple of Jesus Christ and genuinely loves people. And I'm very grateful that she's willing to let me interview her, because when I thought of interviewing her, I just wanted to focus our conversation on how she manages to keep that joy and fun going despite life's challenges. And how that happens for you, Nancy. So glad you're here. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Bethany. You have always been one of my favorite people, and I just love and adore you. And I remember standing at that chalkboard and drawing the cheese and thinking, no one will believe me when I tell them this is cheese. But but it always helped that those are exactly the same thoughts, the same seal, the same cheese that I think of when I want to remember the words to that song. It must have been a profound day for both of us. I don't know.
It really was. It has stayed with me all these years. I love it. That's fantastic. So tell us a little bit about you. Where are you from? What was life like for you growing up?
I grew up in a lot of places. I grew up in a really fun family. There were 8 kids in my family. I am number 5, and we lived in a lot of different places growing up. My father was not a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He was a very, very devout Christian who loved his Savior and read from the scriptures and wanted to teach his children the gospel. And my mother was a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And so we were raised in a family where we had options provided for us that we could, when I was very young, we went to church one week in Dad's church and one week in Mom's church. So that we all went together as a family. As we grew older, my brother asked my parents one Sunday morning, he went, bounding into my parents' bedroom, and he said, "Whose church are we going to today? Mom's church or dad's church?" And my dad said to him, "Whose church would you like to go to?" And Kevin said, "Oh, I want to go to dad's church." And my father said, "And why is that?" And my brother said, "Because at dad's church, they have this really awesome nursery, and we get to go in there and we play with toys and we have great refreshments. And we go to my church, we have to sit and listen about Jesus." And that was the last time we went to dad's church.
That's awesome.
Decided that he really wanted his children to sit and listen about Jesus. And so though he didn't join our church until my parents had been married for 27 years. So my senior year of high school, my dad was baptized. Still, he always supported us in the gospel, and he just asked that we wait until we were 18 to be baptized. He wanted to make sure that we were old enough to make that decision. Mm-hmm. So the gospel is something that was always very important to me. I think that God, in his wisdom, looked at me and knew that I was just that belligerent child, that if you put me in a family that said, "And you have to be LDS," I would have said, "Not in your life." So a family where they said, "And you can't be LDS." And I said, "Oh, you watch me. I'll be the best little Mormon girl there ever was." So it was a really good place for me to grow up. And I've always had a testimony of the gospel. I remember praying before I was 8 years old. I remember praying that Dad would relent and that I would be able to be baptized when I was 8. And then I prayed that I would be baptized when I was 9 and when I was 10. And shockingly, since he hadn't relented on any of the other kids, I don't know why he thought, I'm not sure why I thought he was going to say, "Oh yes, but Nancy, you can get baptized." Anyway, so I was baptized when I was 17, just before my brother left on a mission. My dad let me get baptized because I wanted Kevin to baptize me. And so I was not quite 18, but anyway, we grew up. I was born in California, and we lived in Missouri, and we lived in Idaho, and we lived in Florida, and we lived in Taipei, Taiwan. Wow. And we lived in Hawaii. So we moved a lot of different places. My dad had a great and grand sense of adventure, and my mom was willing to go wherever with him. And I look at who I am, and so much of it is from my parents. I have that same grand sense of adventure that my dad had, and he was a very good liar. He could tell a story straight-faced and have you believe anything. And I've also inherited that gene.
Okay, I'll be watching out for that in his conversation today.
So my siblings were my best friends all of my life, because you always took them with you when you moved. And so I have a really close relationship with my siblings, and a great love for the family that the gospel can help you have no matter where you live. There's always a family waiting there for you, waiting to welcome you. And I'm so grateful for the things that my parents taught me. I think that my sense of joy and always looking for the bright side of things came from both of my parents, but more especially from my mom. My mom was handicapped. She had sarcoma bone cancer as a child when she was 12 years old. And so she was handicapped throughout her life with lots of vestiges of that disease. But she never let it slow her down. She always looked for the bright side of things. And she always looked at ways to counter blessings and to find goodness in all people and to share joy with everybody, find good in every situation. And so I grew up that way, and I love life. There's so much joy to find.
It really is. I love that. That's so beautiful. And that's amazing that your mom was willing and able to do everything that she did and go all those places with.
I know.
That's amazing. I like your mom. I like her a lot. That's so cool. Wow. So tell us a little bit about your family now. It's like, well, actually, before we get to your family currently, let's talk about your husband. How did you meet him, and how did you know that he was the one that you wanted melting your heart for all of eternity?
For all of eternity. He was the next door neighbor in my second year of college, and we actually lived in the same apartment as your father just before he went on his mission.
They knew each other, right?
We knew each other, yeah. Before
crazy.
Before he knew your mom, I guess. I don't think your parents met until after his mission, right?
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, we knew each other. He just came, I think, the first semester, and then he went on his mission. So we didn't know each other terribly well, but we were in the same.
Funny. That's so
cool. And Bruce was dating my roommate. But he was just the kind of kid I had a great deal of respect for. I came out, I'm so glad that my parents married each other. I would never have preferred to have another dad in all the world. But I also knew that from my marriage that I wanted a temple marriage. I wanted a priesthood holder in my home, because I had seen it without that. And I just, my growing up was great. I have no complaints, but I saw that it could be one step better. And so I was very determined that I wanted to be married in the temple, and I wanted someone who was going to always honor his priesthood. Bruce and I became good friends. He was dating my roommate, Jolene. But we were just really good friends. So his roommates teased him all the time. They're like, what, Nancy's your weekday girlfriend and Jolene's your weekend girlfriend, because we went to campus every day. We had lunch together every day. We studied together. Yeah, it was just, and then on the weekends we would be like, bye. And he would go date Jolene and I would go date whoever, whoever was melting my heart that week on campus, And so anyway, we just started teasing us so much that we're like, yeah, he's gonna dump Jolene, and yes, my daughter Jolene is named after Jolene, who he
You need
dumped.
to tell this story, because I've heard this story and it's one of my favorite stories of all time. Tell us how that came about.
So at Christmas time, he gave me a ride to Las Vegas. His parents were from Las Vegas, and he stopped in Las Vegas, but then his dad was going to San Diego for a business meeting. And so I caught a ride to San Diego with him, because that's where my parents were meeting at my grandmother's house to celebrate Christmas. And so when we got to San Diego and we pulled up in front of my grandmother's house, we got out, and my two little brothers, my little sister were there, and Bruce, but all the other adults in the family had gone Christmas shopping. So nobody else was home. So Bruce walks in, and so my sister is 13 and my brother is 12 and my other brother is 9. And Bruce walks in and he says, hi, I'm your sister's fiance, Bruce. And I'm like, what? And my sister's like, what? And he said, yeah, Nancy and I are going to get married. And I just rolled my eyes and like, okay, whatever. And we played Monopoly all afternoon with the kids. And then he left. And so my parents got back from their shopping, and they walk in, and of course my two brothers and my sister are like, Nancy's engaged, Nancy's engaged. And my parents are like, to who? She hasn't dated the same guy more than once. And anyway, so I said to them, oh, it's a boy named Bruce, and he lives next door, and we're not actually dating yet, but we're going to start dating in March, and we'll get married in August. And they're like, okay, whatever. So I went back to school, and my sister, Robin, who was just recently married, and she and her husband were driving out to Illinois. She called me and she said, oh, we're driving through Provo. We'd like to stop and meet Bruce. And I said, okay. So she said, we'll be there in an hour. And so I went over next door to the apartment. I said, Bruce, my sister wants to meet you. She's going to be here in an hour. Can you come over? And he's like, why did your sister want to meet me? And I said, well, because you introduced yourself as my fiance and they think we're getting married. What? You didn't tell them different? I'm like, I'm not the one who lied to them. You're the one who started it. I said, you tell them yourself, like whatever. So he came over, and Robin and Bob came, and they were talking, and so we were sitting there on the couch, and Bob starts talking about the rings on his car or something. And Bruce says, oh, speaking of rings, Nancy, I wanted to do this in front of your sister. And he pulls out a diamond. Well, the diamond ring we had all tried it on. It was one of his roommates had been engaged, and then she gave the ring back. So, it's not like he went out and bought a diamond. It's not like I just thought, oh, honey, you don't even start with me. You have no idea what. So he pulls this ring out, and I said, oh, and I put it on, and I gave him a hug, and I said, of course, yes, yes, yes. And that was not his anticipated response. And I was like, fool, you're the one who started this. You got into it. You get yourself out of it. So he sat there and he goes, Nancy, is there something you'd like to tell your sister? And I said, nope, I can't think of anything. And he said, Nancy, I'm pretty sure there's something you want to tell your sister. And I said, I can't think of anything I'd like to tell my sister. Do you have something you'd like to tell her? And he was so mad. And he goes, Nancy, I think you need to tell your sister. I said, okay, fine. We can't wait until August. We're getting married in April. And my sister, Nancy, could I speak to you upstairs for a minute? So I leave with my sister, and Bruce stands up and says to my brother-in-law, I've never dated Nancy. I'm not in love with Nancy. I'm not engaged to Nancy. I'm not marrying Nancy. I'm never going to see you again. It was really nice to meet you. And then he walks out. And my sister takes me upstairs and she goes, oh my gosh, Nancy, are you pregnant? What? Why are you moving the wedding up till April? And I'm like, oh my gosh, no, I am not pregnant. I've never even gone out with the boy. I'm not carrying his child. He started this. He thinks it's a great joke. Anyway, so yeah, the next time we saw them, we were already married. But they went on their way. And so then he was really mad at me, which I don't understand why he was mad at me. It wasn't my fault, but I just stayed out of his way for a couple of weeks. And then he had invited Jolene to go up to Salt Lake City and meet his grandparents. And so she, had a meeting with all the roommates. We had a powwow. And she's like, I don't want to meet his parents. His family. He's a really nice boy, but I don't see us getting married. I don't want to meet his family. So, what do you think we should do? And so all of the roommates decided that it was the kindest thing to just, not go with him. And she said, I think that's right. I don't want to embarrass him. And I don't want to see his mission slides, quite frankly. So after she made her decision, I just said to her, hey, Jolie, are you sure you don't want to date Bruce anymore? And she said, yeah. And I said, do you care if I date him? And she said, I don't care. And I said, okay, just wait till the night before your date, before you tell him you won't go, because he'll call me and he'll ask me to go. He's not going up to Salt Lake without a girl. And and so she did. And so she called him up the night before and broke it off and said she wasn't going to go with him. And sure enough, he called me up and he said, will you go up and meet my grandparents? And I'm like, sure. They love me. And
as they should.
And we dated for 7 weeks and got engaged in March and got married in August.
You're a prophetess as well.
I am.
Oh my gosh, that is so good. I have not heard that story before. That is so good. The story that I was thinking of was the one how Jolene got her name, how that came about, that you allowed.
Oh yeah, that was also, yep. If we have two, we have identical twin girls, you can name the second one Jolene. And we did.
And I love it so much. That's so amazing. But it sounds like you guys were great for each other right from the start.
Yeah. And very different also. Sometimes my kids say, we don't know how dad married you at all, because you guys are nothing like each other. He's much more serious than I. And that's good, because two of me in a marriage would be a disaster. Like, who's going to be the responsible adult in the room?
Seriously, that would be a problem.
Just have two of Bruce, your life is going to be so boring. So
I love it. Oh man. I want to hear more about your family, but maybe before we do that, since we're on this topic, I would love to hear some of your favorite pranks that you've played on your very serious husband, because that's also one of the things that I always think about when I think of you is how you love pranks. You did it at girls camp, and you
everywhere. There's always good places to do pranks. The more people that you can help with them,
yes,
everybody has fun. It's so much fun. No, lots of pranks at work, because he was the boss at work, and so the other people couldn't pull pranks on him, but oh goodness, they could certainly assist. And I mean, we had one of the security guards who Bruce promised to threaten to fire every week. He's like, if you let that woman in this building one more time, and every time he'd be like, oh no sir, Mr. Winn, I would never let her in. He'd just bring me right in. Like, look, I'm gonna be there Tuesday night.
What are some of your favorite ones that you've done?
I think one of my favorite ones was when we filled his office with packing peanuts. My 4 oldest were gone from home then, but I had the 3 younger ones that helped fill his office with packing peanuts. And I ordered like hundreds of pounds of packing peanuts. And I got Loretta Rice to keep them in her garage for me. And she had to keep them in the garage and not tell Vern what they were for. Like, it took up a whole bay of her garage so that we could fill up. And we went in, and I took plastic. I filled up this office and filled it out backwards, and then put plastic in front of the door so that the whole office, as deep as the desk, all the way through, was filled with those fluffy white packing peanuts. And that was awesome. And
you just left him to clean it up. That's how it works.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And, he sent me a bill at the end of the day, like corporate executive hours sweeping up packing peanuts, which they have static electricity, awful, and you can't back. They like suck to the walls and everywhere around. Yeah, no, my job is to think it up and to do it, and then he has to clean it up.
I see how this works.
I've filled up his office as a ball pit one time with all sizes of balls, all the way from the big exercise bouncy balls that you sit on to little tiny bouncy balls. We
invite children over to play in it. I think that would have been a good idea.
Oh, they would have had a wonderful time. I did when when we started working in the temple, and he would take, 6 white shirts and a white suit to the cleaners down in Hokusson every week. One day I told him, so I'm getting his stuff, and I said, "Oh, hey, I'm running some errands. I'll take your shirts into the cleaners for you." And I traded them out. I had purchased the same brand, the same size, 6 pink shirts, and I took them into the cleaners and then let him pick up the next week. And I wish I had been there for that, because I just left him, whatever. And then he went and picked him up, and he's telling the cleaners guy, "This is not my order." And the guy goes, "I know, every time you bring me 6 white shirts, you don't have pink shirts. These are the ones your wife gave me." And Bruce is like, "My wife didn't give you these. I don't have pink shirts." He brought him home, and I'm like, "No," I said, "I'm sure he must have just like washed him with something red or something. You've got to take those back, Bruce." So he took them back again. And that's the funny thing. Like, he always believes me. I would never believe anything I said, and every time he still believes me every time.
It's so sweet.
It's so sweet. He's like last year we were going to do some redecorating, and I got the redecorator to meet us at the store and to tell him that Joe Biden had added a 50% redecorating tax. Like, if you already had a floor and you were replacing it with another floor, that's a luxury because you already had a floor. And so you get a 50% tax on that, and walls and doors and door handles. If it was replacing anything that was already there, that comes on your luxury tax. And she was so cute. Oh my gosh, she's like, "I don't think I can do this," but she had a mask on because
that helps.
She's like, "That's the way I could do it." And I had the kids in. Some of my kids rat me out. Some of my kids I'll never let in on it. It's mostly the us, but like, I had Nate on it, and so he called up yesterday, that afternoon. He goes, "Dad, you'll never what I heard on Reddit." He says, "You're never going to believe it. They're adding a 50% luxury tax." And Bruce is like, "I know. I was just at the." She's telling me about that, and we had him believing that for a whole year.
You let these things go on for a year?
For a whole year. Yeah, it was great. And then it's like, "You what?" Just,
is it always for his birthday, or is it just randomly? Like, is there?
No, it's random, because if you do it always the same, then they expect it.
Oh my God.
April Fool's it's an event. It's not a date.
So tell us a little bit about your family as well. You mentioned that you have the twins, and the younger one is named Jolene, but tell us the other kids.
We have 7 kids. They are 10 years apart. When Jason was 10 and Lonnie was 9 and Jerem was 7 and Nady was 5 and Jamie was 13 months old. I had some gas, so I went to the hospital because I was having some bad gas, and they told me I was in labor. I knew I was pregnant, but I thought I had a couple more months. And so Bruce left me there. I went back home with the kids, and they were just going to see how things were, work themselves out overnight. And how they worked themselves out was they did an ultrasound and found out that I was carrying twins. And she came in and she told me, and I just busted up laughing. And I said, "That's not even funny. That's not even a funny joke."
Because you come from the perspective of expecting people to be pulling a prank on you.
This is serious. Like, you seriously are carrying twins. And I'm like, "Shut up." And I just laughed. I couldn't think of anything more delightful. Like, what perfect way to finish off your family. So we had twins, and that was lovely. And we're so blessed. Our children were just the nicest children I think God rewards ineptitude by giving you nice children so that they can just raise themselves, because we did nothing to help any of them along the way. The best thing we ever did was just get out of their way. And
that's awesome. You do have amazing children. I love your children. And
Thanks.
all of your kids are awesome. But I know that one of them has also been bitten by the coaching bug along with me, and that's Jolene.
Yeah,
So I'd love for you to mention the book that she recently published, if you want to put a plug in for that.
I would love to. It's called The Not Enough Wife. And it amazes me as I look at the kids in your generation. You guys are so much smarter, and you seek out and do things in a way that just impresses me so much. I mean, I feel like I went along in life, tra-la-la. Bruce came and said, "Oh, you want to get married?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, that's a great idea." "Oh, you want to have some kids?" "Sure. Hey, yeah, let's do that." I'm just like, and I feel like I've done my whole life that way. And then you guys come along and you're so purposeful in everything you do. And my girls just amaze me at how talented they are. You and all of my own daughters, it just how you take things and you say, "I want to do this. I want to learn how to do this," and each of you take what is intriguing to you and what is important to you, and you've found ways to be of service to other people. Lonnie's raised her children, and she's literally a children's literature expert. She can tell you good childhood literature for any age kid, for any developmental state of their reading, pair it with their interest. And she's made that something that's important to her. And she's an amazing resource for hundreds of people who depend on her. I've got a fourth grader who doesn't like books. What do I do with this? What do I do with this? And then, I look at Christy, who said, "I want to have a women's conference, an interfaith women's conference." And I'm like, okay. I've done a hot dog Halloween party for the neighborhood. How can I help you? Just and you and Jolene, who just have taken life coaching classes and said, "Hey, there's other women like me that I can help." And it just is incredible to me how all of you just do amazing things, and each in a different place, with your own wisdom. I look at the intentional way that you raise your children. Oh my goodness. I look at Jamie, and she's so diligent in Come Follow Me, and it's made such an amazing impact on her little family and her children. And I see the way that her children respond to the gospel in this crazy world that we're asking them to live in. And her 12-year-old was coming home from school, and there were some boys at school that were teasing and mocking and bullying him, and another little boy, and he hadn't mentioned it at all, and Jamie was upset about it. And so she and JD pulled him aside, and they said, why didn't you come to us?" And he goes, "Mom, I did not need to come to you. These boys are crazy. They know nothing. I know who I am. God knows who I am. Who else matters?"
Oh my gosh, this child is amazing.
Yes, this is a product of intentional teaching of the gospel in their home. It just is so amazing to me. And the kids in your generation, you get it. You recognize, I need to be an intentional parent, not just tra-la-la along. And I am so proud of all of you. I think it's amazing what you've done with your lives. I'm 1,000% supportive. I've been able to be helped by all of you. I get inspiration from each one of you and the things that you teach and do, and the way you help others. I think it's absolutely fabulous. And you guys are absolutely returning with honor. I think you've done such a nice job.
You're so sweet. And that is so beautiful. I that's so awesome about all of your daughters. And I appreciate that feedback. It is helpful to hear. It's nice to hear that we're maybe doing it a good job. But I also have been so impressed with you. Like, you homeschooled your kids, and when they went into school, they were like ahead of where they were supposed to be. Like, you were constantly serving in your family, in the community, in like everywhere. Like, that's one of the things that I think about when I think about you as well. Is just like, you were so busy and always serving and always doing things.
But that's what brings joy. Serving is what brings joy.
It does bring joy. That's beautiful. I love it. So tell us how, I mean, I know that life isn't all fun and games. So how do you maintain that joy and fun during life's challenges? Or, you know, do you set it aside for a little bit, and how do you regain it? Tell me if you're comfortable sharing an experience or just a general principles, how you've kept that.
You can't really set it aside. I mean, there's so much joy and so much love in every situation. You just have to look for it. And so, for example, last Tuesday, a week ago today, I had my knee replaced. And so I have had better weeks. It doesn't feel terrific. And I was laying on the bed and I'm thinking, okay, so where's the sunshine in this day? Where is the joy? And I started thinking about it. And so last New Year's Eve, we brought a puppy home to Christy's house while her husband was at work. He was super excited about that. And they had been talking about getting a puppy, and they had saved the money, but it wasn't in a quick access account. And so I told her, don't worry, I'll be happy to pay for a puppy. Let me just give you this credit card. And David's like, oh, thank you so much.
I'm sure.
So we bring the puppy home, and I immediately trip over the puppy gate and tear my rotator cuff. And we're laughing about it. And I'm like, I can't even sue you guys. It's my puppy.
I can't even sue you guys.
I can't even sue you for damages here, because even though I'm at your house and it's going to be your puppy, when I tripped, it was my own puppy. So there you go. Anyway, so I had a hard time sleeping since then, because every time I roll over on my shoulder, it hurts. And I need to get it replaced, but my knee hurt worse than my shoulder. And so I'm like, I'm going to do the knee first, and I'll do the shoulder later. And so I was laying on the bed, and all week long, every day I would say, yeah, but God has given me this little tender mercy, and my shoulder hasn't hurt at all this week. It's been amazing. I have laid on this bed all week long, and my shoulder hasn't hurt. And so that's my little, God knows that I'm here, and he's taking care of me, and he doesn't let my shoulder hurt. And it wasn't until Sunday that I was remembering that it also helped that I was on really strong narcotics, and that's probably why my shoulder.
We'll take it any way we can get it, right?
This is probably why my shoulder, because I was taking Oxycontin every 2 hours.
That's what I was thinking, but I wasn't going to say something.
It was God giving me a little miracle that my shoulder didn't hurt this week. So, you always look for the joy and the sunshine in things. And if you have to make it a lot, you got to make it up. Fine, so be it. Like
whatever. Make it thing. I love it.
No, it's great. Kids make things good. A lot of good inspiration comes from kids. I was saying on my walls, I have pictures of all the grandkids on the walls, and a saying by him that says, "Oh, Mama, look at all the wishes." And I I remember a time when Jamie was probably 5 or 6, and we pulled up to the stoplight in Hockessin. See, you grew up here, the stoplight in Hockessin, and
I know what you're talking about. Yes.
and they just thousands and millions of dandelions gone to seed.
Uh-huh.
And I remember sitting at that light and just thinking, oh my gosh, those stupid seeds are gonna blow all over Hockessin. Like, we're gonna have so many dandelions next year. And I heard this little voice in the seat behind me, and Jamie said, oh mama, look at all the wishes.
It's the sweetest thing. Oh, I love that.
Yep, that's kids do that. They are just, they find the good in things. I remember going to Diane Eckery's wedding, and my kids were singing at the wedding, and I got out of the car to go in, and Nate was 4, and he looked at me and he goes, oh mom, your hair looks really ugly, but don't worry, probably nobody will laugh at you. Like, thanks, Nate.
So encouraging. Kids are the best.
And sing with you guys in front of all these people. But they won't tell me that my hair looks really ugly.
So good.
Yeah, lots of, and you get it from the grandchildren too. One time I had blow dried. No, I didn't blow dry. I put curly in my hair and then put some crimpers in it to let it dry. And I got in with the claws still in, and Haley looked at me and she goes, oh grandma, your hair looks funny. And I said, oh Haley, I think my hair looks beautiful. And she goes, no, there's a mirror right there, honey, pull it down.
Just see for yourself, grandma.
you look in that mirror, your hair looks really funny. And she was not having it. Like, I kept telling her I thought it was beautiful, and she's like, nope. You take a good look in that mirror.
That is so good. Oh man, little ones are so great.
Kids are great, and they're so honest, and they're so wonderful, and they always look for good things.
They
So,
do
yeah.
help us to center, like see what's important. That's so true. I love that. I love that perspective. And you managed to surround yourself with a lot of kids and grandkids, so you're good. You're gonna have that all along the way here.
Right. And you know, you do that in everything. You do that in everything. I was so blessed to serve in the mission as a missionary. I enjoyed it so much. And one of the things that happened to me that was difficult for me to understand was on Jamie's 16th birthday, and just before her 16th birthday, was on the 4th of July. I got a blood clot, and I ended up going to the hospital, and I was evidently much sicker than I knew, which doesn't surprise me since I know nothing. You know, they're like, oh, you have a blood clot. I'm like, okay. But they were going to have to do, it was between my bowels and my heart, and they were going to have to do surgery and take out part of my intestines and do a colostomy bag. And then the night before the surgery, Jerem and Bruce gave me a blessing, and the next day they did an ultrasound just before they did the surgery to make sure that the blood clot hadn't moved during the night or anything. And the doctor came back, and he ran tests and tests and tests and tests and more tests, and, you know, hours worth of tests. And he came in and he sat down on my bed, and he said, there is no way to explain this. He said, I've run your tests, yesterday's tests and today's, by my colleagues around the world. I have talked to colleagues overseas. I've talked to people in London. I've talked to people across this country. I've asked everybody if I misdiagnosed you yesterday, because what I'm seeing today is not physically possible compared to what I saw yesterday. And he said, you have no blood clot, you have no damage, your intestines have healed themselves, and that's not something that can happen. Even if the intestines, even if your blood clot had dissipated, you would still have the damage that has been caused already. And I said to him, I said, I can tell you how that happened. I said, I had a blessing last night, a priesthood blessing, and God is the ultimate healer. And he said, yes, he is. He is the ultimate healer. And I've been a doctor long enough to know when I see his hand. And anyway, he was really just so lovely and tender. And after my healing, I went back home, and for several weeks, I was very disturbed. I felt, I felt like I didn't deserve, like it was right around the same time that Maggie Steffi passed away. It was right around the time where we had quite a few people. There was a young mother who had died from cancer. Maggie had passed away. There was another death in our small circle of friends. And I remember thinking, I don't have any more faith than they did. I'm not more righteous than they were. There is not a reason why I was allowed to be healed. And I had a really hard time struggling with that. And I've prayed a lot about it. And I finally came to the conclusion, God just let me know there's something else you need to do. And so I like, okay, I moved on with my life. And so then, I'm down the road another 10 years or whatever, and we get called on this mission. And I loved being a mission mom. It was the best calling of all time. It's like 250 more kids to just love on. And it was so much fun. And you get to do missionary work while you're doing it. And it was just the best. And we had one sister in our mission who had been struggling because her sister at home was ill. And so we'd given her permission to call home on a daily basis so that she could keep in touch with what was going on and not be worried about what was going on at her house. And she came running up to me at a Zoom meeting. And like, I can see myself standing in the gym where she was. She came running up and she gave me a big, big hug. And she goes, oh, Sister Winn, they've figured out what the problem was. It was a blood clot, and it's all going to be worked out. And as soon as she said blood clot, my whole experience came back to me of why I needed to be healed. And the reason I did was so that I could be on that mission with those kids at that time. Even if I had been healed from the blood clot, but had the vestiges of, had to have a colostomy bag or whatever, my life as a missionary would not have been anywhere near the same as what it was. And it was such an amazing experience. And I just felt this great sense of love and gratitude to my Heavenly Father for all of the blessings that He gives me. And in every blessing, which includes every challenge, every struggle, every heartache, there is joy in the morning.
That is so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm certainly grateful that you got to stick around longer.
I can't believe your mother didn't kill me when I let you guys color your hair orange when you were in my car.
That was you. I didn't realize that was you. Oh man, I had leopard spots on my head I was not gonna try to dye it again. I was just gonna let it grow out.
I don't know who in their right mind, who in their right mind made the Laurel advice. We were trying to get, who was it? She didn't do Wednesday nights. She didn't want to come out. And I said to her, well, what do you want to do? She says, I want to stay home. I want to do hair. I said, great, we'll be right over. So I gathered up all the Laurels, bunch of boxes of hair dyes. And we went over to her house. And this was not temporary stuff that's going to wash out next week. You guys looked terrible. And looked that way for months. You looked like a tiger. You had these orange
I definitely did.
Hair. I had no idea. You're like, how do you do it? I'm like, I don't know, man. I think you do it this way. Okay.
Yeah, I was not.
Your mother would have shot me, man. I can't believe I did that.
I love it so much.
Here, your 16-year-old back.
Here you go. Good thing it was my mom. She definitely did not want to be too upset about things.
She is so sweet. And that's probably the most rebellious thing you ever did your whole teenage life under my tutelage.
It wasn't my fault then. So we could totally just.
Oh, it wasn't. You could put that one entirely on me.
That was so funny. Oh, so good. Oh,
so many good times. And were you there for the lingerie at girls' camp? That was when I was at.
I definitely missed that one. But now you have to tell me what that was.
Oh no, we stopped at the Goodwill on the way to girls' camp, and we bought up everything in their lingerie section. And then during the night, we went out and hung a clothesline outside the stake leaders camp and just hung the laundry up to dry. I don't know what the big deal was. It wasn't any of their laundry. I'm sorry, it happened to be right by their cabin, but anyway, the stake camp director was not happy with me. And as a leader, she forbade me to come back to camp. She told me I wasn't invited to camp anymore.
You were banned from girls' camp.
Banned from girls' camp. And then it was really funny because then I was made the temple matron and I got to interview her and she had to work for me. And I'm sure she's like, the church is not true. If that woman is a temple matron, the church is not true.
That is so good. Oh man.
Good times.
All right. Okay. So I have two more questions for you. What advice would you give to your kids or former missionaries or former young women to help us keep perspective and find joy in our journeys in this crazy world?
Lower your standards. Not your eternal standards. Lower really, who cares if you have dust bunnies under your bed? Really, who cares if your kid has a snotty nose? He's got sleeves, you know.
Mine use them a lot.
Yeah, they're just so many things that we think are so important don't matter at all. It doesn't matter at all. One of the stories that Lacey Selden tells about me, I signed up to take her dinner, when she was sick, something, whatever. And then life came and I stopped at the Acme store and picked up a gallon of milk and 3 boxes of cereal and some Pop-Tarts. And I stopped and dropped them off at her house. And I said, here's dinner, and there are a lot of women would just berate themselves for that. And she's like, it was my favorite dinner ever. Nobody said, I don't like meatloaf.
All the kids were so happy, I'm sure.
And I did, I bought Cocoa Puffs and something that your mother never buys, Lucky Charms, whatever, Captain Crunch, things you never ever get. And everyone was happy, everybody ate it, and I didn't have to fix it,
Best of all worlds.
It is just there's so many things that you think are really important and they're really not. Mm-hmm. It really doesn't matter. Yeah. Go over and sit and visit your grandma. And if your kids don't look their best or fight with each other, oh, well, she'll know they're real. and she will love that you came and chatted with her that day, you know.
Yeah.
They're just, don't be so hard on yourself. Take time to do things that matter. I don't have a lot of regrets growing up, but one thing that I really feel sad about was the last year, before the summer before I got married, when I got married that August, um, my parents had lived in Texas that year. My dad had been on sabbatical. And so when I was getting out of school at BYU, they were still in school, so that I would have finished in April, but they had to go to school till June, and then they were gonna travel around the mainland before they flew back to Hawaii. And so they were going to be here and there. And if I went home for the summer, home was wherever your family was. So if I had gone to Texas for the summer, I wouldn't have really had a job. And I was pretty sure that it was important that I save money that last summer before we got married. And so I went home with Bruce and I got a reliable, responsible job, and I saved up all my money. And it was the worst summer ever, because I didn't want to be making my wedding dress by myself. I wanted to be in the car with my brothers and sisters and eating at McDonald's and traveling through Texas in a car that doesn't have air conditioner and all the other fun things that we did on family vacations, you know? And so I think it's really important to, I think time with your family is always an important thing to do. And okay, if you didn't save $200 your year before you got married, you're going to be dirt poor whether you do. Don't. It's not. You're going to be poor when you're married. Just FYI. We're all poor when we get married.
Focus on the things that matter. Yeah, that's good. That's so good. Thank you. All right. And then the final question, I think you've shared a bunch of things that do this for you, but and anything else, I want to hear what inspires you or helps you to live an inspired life.
I am inspired by everybody. There's just nobody, there's nobody you can't learn from. We have this cute little older sister who joined the church, and she lives in a nursing home, and she's like 115 or something. I don't know. She's so old. And she comes to church, and if there's a really good talk, she claps at the end.
I love it.
So cute. And when my granddaughters get up to play violin or something, she'll nudge her neighbor. Oh, these guys are really good. You should have heard them last month, you know. She's so darling. She cheers and she claps, and you know, I get inspiration from her. I get inspiration from Brooklyn. Brooklyn is my 6-year-old granddaughter. She's Jamie's 6-year-old, and she is Jamie all over again. It's so cute. And last year, when she turned 6 in September, she was still wetting her pants on a regular daily basis. Not a little moisture in your panties, like look your mother in the face, straight in the face, dead in the eye, and drain your bladder, you know. That kind of wet. And Jamie said to her on her 6th birthday, that Jamie, who is going to be sainted for not killing the child before, which I might have done, she said, you know, Brooklyn, if you can stay dry, clear from your 6th birthday until your 7th birthday, we can go to Disney World. And Brooklyn says, can I pick who comes with me? Jamie says, yes, you can bring anybody you want.
You can do anything.
And so Brooklyn called me up and invited me to go to Disney World. Girlfriend has been dry every day for an entire year. Her birthday is next week, and we are going to Disney World on crutches with my knee in a wheelchair, whatever. We're going to Disney World because Brooklyn's been dry. I mean, isn't that not inspirational?
That is inspirational.
She knew what she wants. She got it.
She got it. Disney World with grandma. I can't think of anything better. That's amazing.
Yeah. The trick is going to be if on her 7th birthday, she says, oh, now for my 8th birthday.
Yes.
They dry again.
Yes, I'm going to do this again. That's amazing.
No, it just, there's inspiration from everybody. I'm always amazed at the things you can learn from people. Everybody.
Yes, that's so good. There's a quote that I really love. I don't even know who it's by, but it says, there's nobody you can't love once you've heard their story, or something like that. And I think it's kind of a similar vein there. Like, there's nothing you can't be inspired by. Like, nobody you can't learn something from. When you get to know them, and you don't even have to know them, right? You can just see beautiful acts of kindness. But yeah, I love that.
One of my favorite quotes is, enthusiasm can compensate for a multitude of other deficiencies. And so I just try to be super enthusiastic every day, and because I have multitude of other deficiencies.
That's fantastic. Well, that is a good inspirational quote, I think, to leave us on. Thank you so much.
Thank you for talking to me. It was super fun to chat with you, Bethany.
It really was so fun.
So much.
I love you too. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. I hope the things that have been shared have been helpful and inspiring. If you like what you've heard, please hit subscribe and share this with your friends. And if you're listening on a podcast app, please rate and review so that others can find this content more easily as well. If you're listening on YouTube, go ahead and throw a comment down below about what inspired you from this conversation. And please remember that I do coaching and would love to help you or someone you love to work through whatever challenges you're facing. My specialty is in family relationships. I love helping to strengthen families one challenging relationship at a time. Honestly, you can completely change your relationship with someone without having to change them at all. It is the most wonderful and liberating experience to realize you are free from the weight of judgment and negative feelings you've been enduring. So please hit me up if you want to fix a difficult relationship in your life. Visit my website, www.lifeinspiredcoach.com, to read testimonials, find out more about coaching, and contact me if you'd like to be coached. Thanks again. See you next time, and keep seeking an inspired life.